What's going on, everybody? It's your friend Dev Demolino here, the synthesizer of opinions, and I'm back on my YouTube shit. And today we're gonna do a pretty prompt, a pretty concise 5, 4, 3, 2 review on an album that I really enjoyed. The album is called So Much Fun, and it's by the one and only Young Thug, Tugga Slam. Now, really quick before we get into that part of things, I want to give y'all a quick update on the channel and an outlook for where things are going in terms of the content that you're going to see on this channel. I have primarily shifted my efforts and my attention towards a new project that I'm working on that's been going super well. It's the New Music Monday podcast, and it's been a really great space for me and my co-host Trent to open up our thoughts across an hour and a half of content as opposed to the 5 to 10 to 15 minute long videos that we can do here. The thing you may have noticed is that the name of this YouTube channel has officially changed. As of today, we are the Bridge City Boys channel. Now, what does that mean for the content? Not actually that much at all. We're still going to be bringing you the same detail-oriented, fan-sided approach to talking about and reviewing music. I will be able to start producing content for this channel that I just never was able to before. And a lot of that will come by way of the podcast. I'm hoping to meld those two platforms. So if you are watching this video right now, that means the New Music Monday podcast season 3 episode 1 is out right now. And you can find it on Spotify, you can find it on Apple Music, you can find it on SoundCloud. Anywhere you want it, you can probably go get it. Now, 5, 4, 3, 2, if this is your first rodeo, then I'll let you know that the 5 stands for 5 things we need to talk about and know before we get started on this review. The 4 is for my 4 favorite tracks on the album. The 3 is for the 3 adjectives I have to describe the album. And at the end of this review, I give it 1 of 2 ratings. Is it hot or is it not? Is it that gas or is it just ass? Basically, that's how we do things. So without further ado, let's get into 5 things that you may need to know about this project. First thing here, let's talk about the track list. Here we have 19 songs and we have an hour and 2 to 3 minutes of music. This album has no skits, so that is entirely front to back all music. By today's standards, and especially in the hip hop sector, that's quite a bit of music. Do I want to hear an hour straight of Young Thug? Do I want to hear almost 20 tracks of just Young Thug? So clearly this album could run the risk of being completely overbloated, but I'll touch on that part of things a little bit later. Technically, this is Young Thug's debut album, much in the same way that Chance the Rapper just dropped his debut album in The Big Day. Again, all of this is on streaming, so that really means nothing to the consumer. But yes, 5+ years into his career, Young Thug has officially dropped his debut studio album. On the feature side of things, we have Lil Uzi Vert, Future, Gunna's on here a couple times, Lil Duke, another YSL artist, is on here a couple times. 21 Savage shows up, Quavo shows up, Travis Scott shows up, and J. Cole is on the album as well. On the side of production, again, there's actually a J. Cole beat on this thing. J. Cole and T- collided for the song Mannequin Challenge. Beyond that, most of the production was handled by Wheezy, who you know from working with Gunna or Lil Baby. 3, Pierre Bourne beats, someone you would know from working with Young Nudy, Playboi Carti, Lil Uzi, those kinds of guys. And in terms of production, things were spread out quite a bit, which I think is good for a 19-song project. Now, let's go ahead and talk about my 4 favorite tracks. At number 4, I would say What's the Move featuring Lil Uzi Vert was one of the best moments on here for sure, primarily because of the Lil Uzi Vert and Young Thug collaboration that just tends to sound harmonious no matter where, when they decide to drop. My 3rd favorite song ended up being Bad 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 featuring Lil Baby, primarily because of that Bad 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 hook. Lil Baby does his thing on here, really one of my favorite Thug verses on this project, and the Bad 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 part of that hook really links up to that beat sounding fantastic and comes together as a really simple but well-made and complete hook. At number 2, a bit of a surprise for me, Mannequin Challenge, down towards the bottom of the track listing, features Juice WRLD, who puts in a pretty dope verse. Just hearing this Young Thug and Juice WRLD collaboration over a J. Cole and T- beat, it is just one of the most interesting collaborations brought to this project, and the whole thing just comes together sounding like totally without a hitch. And finally, at number 1 is Hot. Shout out to Gunna, because Gunna is not a good rapper, Gunna is not a good singer. He makes this track, and it just really does not make sense to me sometimes why I like him so much in certain spaces. Alright, so 3 adjectives for this album. The first I'm going to throw out there is rich. The high energy, the trap beats, the Young Thug vocals and trademarks are all a lot to consume, 19 times in a row. That probably leads me to my next adjective, that being that the project is dependable. The thing about looking at or reviewing a Young Thug project is not entirely so much about the best moments on the album, because there's always a few best moments on a Young Thug project. He can always sort of capture lightning in a bottle once or twice on a project at least. It's really looking at the low end of the project and what some of the worst moments were, how bad they were. So Much Fun is easily one of the most consistent Young Thug projects I've ever heard. Now that doesn't automatically make it his best project, but where it does make its mark for me is in listening to the entirety of the project. I actually want to listen to the entirety of this 19 song long project. Now my last adjective to hammer things home is going to be sobered. It's not a Young Thug project if he doesn't sound completely booted up, but this album sounds way more aware than some of his earliest work did. And to be honest, that does come with a bit of a trade-off, because for a lot of people there is some allure in the Barter 6 sounds, the early Slime Season sounds. Even I personally miss some of that in this project, but it does show just how far Young Thug has come along in terms of being able to make a project this watertight and this enjoyable for this long. As for a hot or not rating, I'm going to give this thing a pretty emphatic hot rating. This thing is pretty dope. Definitely one of my favorite projects from Thug all time. I put it top 3 for now. I've said that a couple times now. It may potentially enter into the conversation for one of my favorite albums of 2019. If you have favorite songs, adjectives to describe the album, or at least a hot or not rating, drop those down in the comment section below, please. And remember, art without favor is like a windmill without wind. Deb Demolino, Bridge City Boys, out.